Congratulations! It's a wonderful occasion. You have reached the end of phase 1 in CSS, and this is going to be our project that we are going to make today. As always, it's going to feel fairly advanced. We are going to use several new topics and concepts that we haven't learned, but just stick with me and I am going to explain everything thoroughly and make sure that you leave with a solid understanding. So stick with me and let's get started. Also, one question that I have recently received from my physical students is the reason I am pushing to advanced concepts without explaining the basic concepts first. Well, the thing is, CSS has thousands of different properties. You're never going to memorize all of them, and most of the time, you'll just ask AI to build a site for you. But in order to understand what AI is doing for you, you need to understand everything generally. And this is exactly what I am trying to build within this course, preparing you so you can make better use of AI to make beautiful, professional websites faster than ever. Let's determine what's the project and what concepts we will be using. Overall, this page is very simple. We have some headings and subheadings. We have some more text here and we have some icons. We have talked about icons already and we shall be using multiple icons throughout this project. However, we have some more complicated concepts here. As an example, you can note this hole or circle around it. You can note this progress bar. You can note these buttons. And while clicking those buttons, we are going to get this beautiful pressed in feel. We have some inputs and more buttons. And in fact, we haven't learned about buttons yet. So don't worry, we are going to cover that clearly. And finally, we have this layout where these three cards are arranged in a row. We are going to explore that too. And for now, I shall keep that very simple so you don't have to understand all the theory yet. Here, I am going to create a new file and call that project.html. We are going to generate a structure. I am going to set title to dashboard and open that in a browser. So I'm going to go here and type project.html at the end and we have this blank page that we are going to convert into that. So let's begin by creating our HTML markup. We need a heading here which is going to be phase 1. We also have a subheading which is going to be phase this typography slash depth, and then we have those cards. So for those cards, I'm going to create a div which is going to carry all of those cards. Let's give it a class as well, and I'm going to give it a class of card-draw. Next, we are going to create the div for this card. So div, and inside of that div, I want my icon. Let's give that a class of card. Similarly, I'm going to give that, in fact, let's not give it another class yet. I'm going to define an element for this icon here. So I'm going to define I class equals to icon. And for now, I'm going to place a general emoji here. So just press Windows dot if you are on Windows. If you are on Mac, press command dot command plus dot and you're going to get this window. So I am going to place a general music icon here for now. Save. Next we need this. So I'm going to add an h3. I'm going to add the song name. I am then going to add a p tag, description, Finally, I need my progress bar, and for the progress bar, I am going to begin with a div, call that progress bar, and then inside of it, I am going to create another div, which would be progress dash fill. And this div is going to display this whole bar here, while fill will only display the blue area. Let's continue further. I am going to wrap both of them in another div, progress bar, and below it, in fact, let's move that outside of the div. I am going to create a new div here, name that timings or just time for now, and inside of it I am going to create two span tags, and both of them will carry this time. There we go. And lastly, we need another div for our controls. So div class equals to controls. Note that I am not complicating the class design here for now. I am just adding some classes so we can identify which is which, but we would need to identify our classes through writing CSS. For now, I am adding those classes so I can identify those divs later when I am writing CSS. Here I am going to add these three, which are going to be span. Inside of it, I shall add an I tag. Back, I guess this. Do we have a left here? I guess let's work with those for now. Another I windows dot play. There we go. And finally, we are going to add span I windows dot right. And let's add this. Let's also replace that with the other one for left, which is, I don't think we have one, so let's use this one for now. There we go. This card is complete. We are going to design this card now. Right now we haven't written any CSS, therefore our cards are going to look very ugly, but we are going to style them soon. So let's continue by designing another card. Div class equals to card. Here we need to display a location. I'm going to go with the same one for now, London, UK. We have a icon for which I am going to add an span, and inside of that span I am going to add our icon, which can be a cloud. I guess this one would be much better. Then we have our temperature. So let's use a P for that. And to type this small dot, I am going to use an O with SUP tag for now. Now that we're done with our structure, let's start with CSS. I'm going to begin with a style tag, and we're actually going to start by applying some styles on the static. Like I told you before, we are going to use some code to reset our styling before we start coding actually. So margin 0, padding 0, save, let's go back. Now we are going to start applying some styles on our body, and I'm actually going to copy paste the colors that I have added here already. You just need to see and type those colors exactly. We are going to give a background color to our body. I'm also going to give it a display of flex, add a flex direction of column, justify content center, and align content, align items center. And this is going to put everything in the center here. Next, we are going to give it a height of 100 VH. Now, before we proceed further, This display flex with flex direction of column is still making a row. It's arranging items in a row, but it's arranging them vertically in a column. It's arranging all those items in a single column. And if we remove that, it's going to arrange the same items like this. We need flex direction column here. Now I'm going to apply another flex on this card draw. So let's do dot card dash draw display flex direct. We don't actually need flex direction here. I'm just going to save, and this is going to automatically put all of our cards in a row. Next, I am going to apply some styling on a card. I am going to add a height of 200 pixel, save a margin of, let's say, 40 pixel, and this gives us some nice spacing between that. And I believe we're still missing this third card. I'm going to go with the first two for now. So let's proceed. I'm going to apply my font. So this is matched, and the font we're going to use here, let me go back here. Font family, we're going to use something called Sego UI here. So Sego UI, save, go back, and it still looks different because this is different. We have Sego UI, Roboto, Helvetica. We're going to follow the same fallback fonts, Roboto. Then we have Helvetica, PIC. Let me type that once more. There we go. And finally, we have Arial and sans serif. Let's go back, and the fonts are ready. Next, I am also going to add some padding on our body and add some more margin above those. We are also going to set the color of our text. So let's go back. I have my color added here. So let's copy that too. I am going to define that as color here, and then I am going to define a padding of 20 pixel. Go back, and there we go, it's coming along nicely. Next, we need to center everything within our cards. So I'm going to go back here, display flex once more, and this time we are going to use flex direction column, then justify content center and align items center. There we go. I'm going to remove justify content for now because I believe that this looks better. We are going to wrap both of them within a header tag, and then I'm going to apply some margin below a header. Let's do that below the body. So header, margin bottom, and let's do something like 20 pixel, go back, and we have our margin. We also need to center that, so I'm going to go back once more and do text align center. Save, go back, and it's centered too. I believe that we are done with the header. We still have a lot of work on a card, so let's begin with that. For now, I'm going to give my card, uh, let's change its height to 350 pixel, its width to 300 pixel, give it a border radius of 20 pixel, and to view that radius, we are going to give it a border of 2 pixel solid black. Save, go back, and our cards are ready. There's a lot of work on each, so let's begin with this icon. And we have given it a class of icon, I suppose. Yes, we did. So we are going to do dot icon. I'm going to give it a margin top of, let's say, 20 pixel. It's better. Let's do margin directly. I'm going to do top and bottom 25 pixel, and then left and right I am going to do 0. That's better. I am also going to increase its font size to something like 1.6 RAM. It's bigger but not big enough, so let's do 2.6 RAM. Okay, I think that's nice. Let's go back, and I still believe that those headings aren't matched between both, so we are going to do some more work on that. Let's go to header. Inside of it I am going to style h1, give it a font size of 1.8 maybe. That's better, and then give it a font weight of 800, which is going to make it look a bit thinner. It's still very bold, so let's say 600, and I guess that's better. Another thing I'm going to do is that instead of phase 1 I'm going to do phase capital I, which is going to look much nicer in that case. Now this one is huge, we need it smaller, so I'm going to do header h2. For it I'm going to give it a font size of 1 gram only, that makes it much smaller, and then give it a font weight of maybe normal. Yep, I think those are very close now. Now we have a icon, we have a text. We still want to make this one a bit smaller, I guess, and then increase the size of that one. So let's do that quickly. I have this h3, so let's do card, and now we can do dot card h3 to select the h3 inside of that card. I believe I explained that earlier. So let's do font size 1.6 RAM here. Save, go back. This is large, but okay, I suppose. This is still small enough. Next, we have these two timelines. For those, I'm going to use, oh, we have progress bar first. So let's do that too. For the progress bar, I'm going to give it a border radius of 2 pixel, a border of 1 pixel solid black, and we're going to give it some gray color, not precisely black, so it looks better. We also need to give it a height. So I'm going to give it a height of 5 pixel, not 5 pixel, maybe 20 pixel. Now this is too much, let's say pixel. I guess that's okay. Let's do with 100%, and that means that we would have to reduce. Let's add some padding here to handle that. Padding 30 pixel, and that looks a bit better. We need some margin here too, so we're going to target that p dot card p margin bottom. Let's say 14 pixels. Save. I guess that's okay. And now I'm going to give a progress bar a fill. So we have a progress fill here. So we are going to do progress dash fill. We are going to give it a background color of somewhere around blue. In fact, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to copy most colors here. So we have this color here for progress bar. I'm going to give it a width of 100%, and then not 100%, 65%. So our progress bar is 65% full. And then I'm going to give it a height of 100%. Let's go back, and we have our progress bar as well. Now you might note that this doesn't exactly match with this, but we're going to improve that soon. We're just trying to get a prototype over here. Next we have this timing. So for the timing I'm going to do dot time, give it a display of flags, and this time in order to put them to the ends, one to go here, the other to go there, we are going to use justify content space between. Save, go back. It's not changed. We would have to do with 100% as well. And there we go. Let's keep going. We have our controls. For the controls, we are going to do dot controls, And I am going to give it, you guessed it, display of flex once more. Justify content. For this I am going to do a space between once more, and this is going to put this left here, center this play in the middle, and then this forward to the right. We also need to do with 100% here, and then I'm going to increase, nope, no, we are certainly not doing a space between. That's close but not there yet, so let's try center, I guess. We are going to give it some padding. Now I am going to increase its font size to somewhere around 1.8 RAM. That makes them bigger but not big enough, so 2 RAM. That's much nicer. And I am also going to give it a very large padding. For top and bottom we are going to do something like 12 pixel, no, not 12 pixel, 0, and then from the left and right I am going to do 12 pixel, which didn't work. Let's try dot controls. We are going to target span in there, and I am going to add that as margin here. So from top and bottom we are going to use 0, and then here we are going to use 12 pixel, which seems better. I am just going to drop that to 6 pixels, and we're mostly done. Now let's proceed with this card. Here we want this London UK to stay on the top. We want this weather icon. Then we want a huge temperature. We want this status. And then finally we want these two. So let's proceed with those. We also need to add some more text here. So let's add that first. We need this partly cloudy. We need this raw. Let's do them both. So I'm going to do p class equals to status or weather status partly cloudy. I'm going to do div dot weather details, and inside of it we need two values. For now I'm going to write them directly without an icon. So let's go span 12 kilometer per hour, and then we have this 42%. That wouldn't be clear right now, so in fact let me add icons here. We're just working with emojis right now, but we're going to improve that. So let's add that I, and I'm going to add drop and a water drop here. That seems better. Go back. We have it. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to reduce its size so it looks more like this. Let's begin by setting this H2. In fact, let's make that an H3. Not even an H3, we would want to make it an H4. Let's change that to H4 too. That's nicer. We want this icon to be bigger, so I'm going to give it a class of weather icon, and then we're going to style that class up here. So dot weather icon, and here I'm going to increase its size a bit. We don't need to increase it too much, so let's just do 1.2 RAM. And that seems close. We want this to be much bigger, so let's do dot temperature, and let's make it 2 RAM. So that didn't work. Did I even give it a class? No, I didn't. So let's give it a class of temperature. Save, it's bigger, but we want it to be even bigger. So let's do 2.2 RAM, and we're going to, let's try 2.5 RAM. I believe that's fine. And we want this to be split in 3 sections. We want this to be on the top along with the icon. We want this to be in the middle, and we want this to be in the bottom. So we are going to wrap them in 3 different divs. This is going to be our div number 1. This is going to be div number 2. And this is going to be, we already have a third div. I'm going to give it a class of weather dash card here, and you guessed it, we're going to use flex once more. Remember, every time we want to position elements in a row, we are going to use flex. So display flex, justify content, and we're going to do space between. And we also want to add flex direction here. So flex direction column, go back. It didn't do anything, so let's try align items instead. Align item center, not center. We still want justify content space between, and that worked. We also want align items center, and this didn't, yep, that didn't work that well, but we have a way to work around that. I'm going to do, where was it? There we go. Text align center. And this is going to put everything back exactly how we want it. Now we want this to have a background color. So I'm going to pick this light shadow, which is just white. And since this is white, we are going to use hash FFFFF, which is white. And I think that's weather details. So weather details, background color, white. We just need 6 whites here. I'm going to give it a width of 100%, a border radius of, not border radius of 4 pixels, save. That's close, that's 12 pixel, that's much better, but I think it's too much now. So we are going to increase its height. Let's set its height to 45 pixel. That's not even close. That's too much. I have no idea what's happening now, but that's not it. Let's try 55 pixel, that's better. I'm going to give it a display of flex again because we want this centered like this. We want this here. So display flex, justify content center, and align items center. This puts it in the middle, but we want this air to be here and then water to be here. So I'm going to do justify content space between. And just remember that space between is going to put everything onto the extreme ends. But if we want something to be closer, we are going to use space around, and this would look like this. And I believe that's better. We also want this color to be lighter, so we can either reduce its transparency, we can make it more transparent like this, which I believe is closer. We just want this to be just a little bit more transparent. There we go. We can still see what's happening here, so that's nice. And other than that, I guess this card is done too. And finally, we can proceed with the last card. So for the last one, I am going to copy paste the weather card and then change from here. So this is a weather card. Let's copy paste that, remove that weather here. And here I am going to write account access, remove that icon completely. We don't want any icons. We also want two inputs. So for the inputs, I am going to add a div and then add a label. Inside of that label is basically the standard tag we use to label inputs. Whenever we want the user to enter something, we are going to add a label to define that input. Next, we have input actually, and we want this to have this placeholder text written here. And for that, we have exactly that element placeholder. So I just said username, then we have a password. So I'm going to write password here, and then we are just going to type a bunch of styles here. Let's go back. We have our inputs, but they look horrible. We're going to work upon that. We have this button. And that's exactly what we are going to use, a button. So button login. Now I am going to give it a class of login button, and I am going to add another p and name that forget password. There we go. Let's add a question mark here too, and let's begin styling. So first of all, I want these labels to look a bit better. So to work upon that, we're going to add some padding. We're going to make them bigger, larger, just like we have them here. So I'm going to add login card here, and let's style a login card, go back, and I'm going to say login card. Inside of it, we are going to style our input. I'm going to say let's skip a border. I'm going to increase its height to maybe around 28 pixel. That's close. Let's try 34 pixel. That's better. Let's do border radius. I'm going to give it a border radius of 8 pixel. Let's go back, and I believe that's much better. We also want to give it some padding. So a padding of 4 pixel inside of it, which is again very close. Let's try 8 pixel, which I believe is enough. And now I want to give it a background color and remove that large black border that it has. So for the background color, I am going to go with this one, dark shadow. Let's just copy that. I am going to say background color this, and that's certainly not it. Let's try that one. Maybe this one would fare nicer. No, we want it to have the same border color as this. So I'm going to copy this, which is our body's background. I'm going to paste that here, and this looks nicer. I am also going to center, not center, but add some more spacing around it. So let's add a margin top of 4 pixel, a width of 100%. Let's remove a border by doing border 0, which basically removes the border, and it still doesn't look that nice, but it's better. If you can note, it's much closer. We have our labels, we have a password. We want to style our labels further. So login card, label, font size 0.8 rem. We want them to be a bit smaller, and we also want them to be softer. We want them to be lighter. So I'm going to use a slightly lighter color here, which is this. And there we go. Once we apply some styling here, our labels are going to really pop out and display those inputs differently. Let's continue with our login button. For the login button, I am going to give it a background color of this blue accent that we copied over here. That is, nope, it didn't work. Outline 0. Outline 0 is basically going to remove this black border around it. Did I even give it my class? I made it login btn, and I did login button here. So that's better. Padding 12 pixel with 100% border radius. Same thing that we are applying on everything else, and then we are going to do border 0, and it's similar, but we want its text to be white. So color white, and it's almost done. We just want this forget password to be lighter and smaller. So I'm going to do forget password, and let's target that, make that smaller, etc, etc. 0.8 RAM. We want it to be a bit bigger, I suppose. We also want some more spacing. So let's add some spacing. I am going to center these two inputs. I am going to put that to the bottom, just like we did in our other card. So inside of my login card, I am going to do justify content space around, which is going to do the exact same thing. Not a space around, a space between. And it's not done yet. We still need to wrap that into our divs. So we want these two to be closer. We want these two to be closer. And the other will stand by itself. Save, go back. Now this one's broken. So I am going to give this div a width of 100%. So this one is slightly more complicated, but skip that for now. We are going to talk about that later. And with 100%, save. Now this and this is wrong, so we need to specify text align center. And we're almost done, but now our labels are wrong. So let's correct our labels to text align left. Save. Our labels are not correct. I think that's start. Our labels are still not correct. Why aren't they correct now? Well, that's because of some things that we discussed earlier. So we're using text align center here, which is being targeted directly with a class, but here we are targeting it with a tag. So it doesn't work that reliably. But if I do important here, this is going to force. Okay, nope. I'm just picking that incorrectly. So text align left, save, go back, and I realize what's the issue. We need to do with 100% here. Again, don't worry about it. I'm going to explain that later. It didn't work again. So we are going to debug why it doesn't work. I'm going to press Ctrl plus Shift plus C so we can inspect that, and we're going to inspect that and find the problem. I'm going to select that. It's not 100% yet. And if we hover on this exclamation mark here, you can already note that it's telling us that our display is inline, and that's why it is not working. I'm going to do display inline block, which is going to fix that. If go back, and this is fixed. Pretty much fixed at least. We still want those placeholders to have some more padding. So we cannot give padding to placeholders directly, but we can do some work here. If I increase that padding here, this is going to make a slight difference. So you can note we have a username and password written a bit over here, and for now I am going to give it a border 1 pixel solid black, and our inputs are back. And there we go. Our entire structure is complete. And in fact, we are done with this video. If I complete that entire project in a single video, the video is going to be 2 hours. I'm going to stop the video here. In the next video, we are going to apply all those polishing and shadows that we can see here. So our project looks much nicer and looks close to this. And in the third and the last video of this section, we are going to review that entire project and make that once more, not the whole project, but we are going to review that, experiment with a few values, and I'm going to explain everything much more slowly. So stick with me, go through it, and we're going to meet in the next video.